So I'm here to talk to you guys about the work that I've done inside the institutions in the East Coast. I'm coming to you not as a researcher, a professor, or anything like that. I'm coming to you as a frontline worker. I've been working in the institutions for the past 5 years, and I've been working closely with the inmates. What I do inside is that we go in and we do bloodborne pathogens workshops with the Aboriginal offenders, but we also do peer education, so Aboriginal peer education training, and then we hire, well, we don't hire, CSC hires, one of our trained peer educators actually to be the peer educator inside the institution. I have with me is Chrissy, and she was trained in one of my sessions at the Nova Institution. She's now with us out on the outside, and she's doing fantastic. Proud of her. So we have 5 institutions in the East Coast. We have Spring Hill, which is our where reception is, where they all go, and they divide up. We have Nova Institution, which is our female institution, and they're from minimum right up to max. We have Westmoreland Institution, which we call the farm. It's exactly what it is. It's a farm, and the men live in housing, and they have their own keys and stuff, but they also work on the farm. And then we have Dorchester Institution. And Dorchester is a medium security, but we have the Shepherdie Healing Lodge that's also inside Dorchester. And then we have the Atlantic Institution, which we call Renews, and that's the max. So those are the 5 institutions that we work. We don't do any work with the provincial institutions, just the federal. So I might want to tell you about Healing Our Nations. We're an Aboriginal HIV/AIDS organization. We actually, we have 5 staff and then 6 including our bookkeeper, and she's an honorary Mi'kmaq. So everyone else who does work with us is Mi'kmaq. We have 2 educators. We have 2 on-reserve educators and 2 off-reserve educators. And we serve 31 of our First Nations communities in the Atlantic region. So we have 4 educators, if you can imagine, 4 educators for 4 provinces. So it's pretty much like 1 educator per province, but it doesn't work like that. We're constantly on the go. We do work up in Northern Labrador as well, in Shashashi and Natwashish. And we go up there and we do training as well. Most of what we do at Healing Our Nations is prevention, education, and awareness, and it's all around HIV, STIs, Hep C, all the STBBIs. Kind of skip through all that. So I just want to tell you the experience that I've had. So I've had many discussions, and this is why I feel that needle syringe exchange needs to be implemented inside institutions. I feel more harm reduction is needed inside. And the stories I'm going to tell you, there are from our Aboriginal brothers and sisters inside, but also from our non-Aboriginal, because as soon as Healing Our Nations goes inside, we have general pop signing up like crazy to come into our sessions. So of course we get permission from the brother and the sisterhoods to allow other people, the general pop, to come in. Absolutely. So my sessions are usually pretty big inside the institutions. We also do health fairs and AIDS walks inside as well. So I've had many discussions with female and male offenders, Aboriginal, non-Aboriginal, Aboriginal, about using needles for the first time ever when they were incarcerated. So this is the first time. They've never used needles on the street, but they go inside and they're using needles. Why? Because they're bored or to fit in. Because inside, it's survival of the fittest. So you want to fit in, so what are you going to do? You're going to try what other people are trying. I know they say that there are no drugs inside, or, why would we go ahead and implement a needle exchange program because it's condoning the behavior. It's not condoning it because we know it's already happening. So we have to do something to reduce the risk and to reduce the harm to our brothers and sisters inside the institutions. I've heard stories that people have contracted Hep C and HIV on the inside. I met a guy, he did needles for the first time inside. He came out, he didn't know he was Hep C positive, came back into one of our First Nations communities. Our communities are very small. And then he ended up transmitting the virus, but he didn't know he even had it until the other person was diagnosed and until he went back inside, and then was diagnosed when he got tested when he went back inside. I've heard stories about tattooing inside, how the ink is shared, how the homemade tattoo guns are shared, that they're not cleaned in between each use because some of the times, yes, they do have bleach kits, and but we all know bleach doesn't kill Hep C virus. But they have bleach kits in there, but a lot of the inmates are using these bleach kits to clean their cells because they don't have adequate cleaning materials to be able to keep their cells as clean as they want them to be. So they're going to taking those bleach kits and they're cleaning their cells with them instead of using them for their purpose. So unfortunately, when they're going to get these bleach kits, when they do need them, they're not available and they're not restocked right away. I've heard of our brothers and sisters inside not going to get the bleach kits just because of where they're located inside the institutions. They don't want the guards, the COs, the cops, or whatever they call them on the inside. They don't want the risk of them searching their cells. So sometimes they'll send somebody else to go get it just to see if their cell is going to be searched. But sometimes they just won't even go and they'll just take the risks. I've heard of stories of up to 10, 20 to 30 people on one needle, one single needle on inside because they need that fix or just because they want it. And I heard that the needles can be so dull, they're just as big as a Bic pen. That's how. So you can imagine trying to stick that into your arm and then also someone else using it. And I've heard stories about the punching bags, blood on the punching bags. This is that they're not being cleaned properly and reporting that there is blood on these punching bags and nothing being done about it. We all know Hep C lives outside the body, and it can live outside the body for a period of time. So these things need to be cleaned up. The harm reduction needs to be in place. So it's not just needle syringe exchange, it's also other harm reduction policies need to be in place inside, or just done more. I heard stories about people contracting Hep C through fights, just through fighting through the blood. I've heard of other stories of in the female institutions of them sharing their dildos, sharing the condoms. I was told before that the condoms were placed in a spot where it was closest to the nurses. Chrissy has told me that no, actually, that you would get condoms.
Thursday when they deliver the cleaning supplies, you get a bag of condoms and lube. You can go to healthcare anytime you want and get as many condoms as you want. And also down in the stores, when you go in, there's a tote full of condoms, like they're ready.
So you said every Thursday?
Every Thursday they get delivered to your house.
Every Thursday in the housing in the women's institution. I know in the male institution that they wouldn't go get them because the condoms are placed either directly in the IDN's office, in the nurse's office, so they don't want to go in, and they don't want to have the label that's associated with taking condoms on the inside. If you got to be safe, you got to be safe. So, but they just don't go get them because of where they are placed inside the institutions. I went in one institution and I asked them to show me where the bleach kit was, or the bleach dispenser. And when I went to the bleach dispenser, it was in a hallway next to the gym, but it was also corroded. There was rust all over it. I asked it to see if we could pour something out, and you could see there's rust inside. And this is right beside the condom dispenser as well. So unfortunately, you can't even use it. So they're saying we have it, we're implementing it, but they can't even use it, it's not available. Nobody would want to use that bleach. And it was just out of a dispenser type thing. It wasn't in little bottles, but now I heard Nova gives out little.
3 little bottles are actually bleach kits.
3 little bottles in Nova in the female institution down. Pardon me? When you get admitted? That's why I have Chrissy here with me. So now more than ever, I feel that needle exchange needs to be implemented inside all jails, prisons, institutions, or whatever you want to call them. Some say, like I said earlier, that if we're condoning it, that we're just condoning drug use on the inside. But something needs to change. Something needs to stop. We need to make a change. We need to help protect our brothers and sisters, and not just our Aboriginal brothers and sisters. We need to protect all people inside. That HIV, hepatitis, all of them are 100% preventable. So we need to prevent them. There's no reason why there's people coming out of the institutions never having Hep C but coming out with Hep C or HIV. There's no reason that should happen. And we need to fight for it. We need to get a change inside the institutions. We need to do this not only for the inmates, but we also need to protect the inmates' family, the inmates' friends, the inmates' communities. And within our First Nations communities, like I said, they are very small. So when inmates are released into our First Nations communities, there's the risk of transmitting and contracting the virus that, from catching it or from getting it from the inside. So I'm totally confused. I totally went all over the place. I don't know, but that's all I got.